With most sprinkler systems, you don't have a way to hook up an air compressor to your sprinkler system to blow it out. If you don't have a way that you can hook an air compressor up to your sprinkler system, then what you do is you just turn off the water and then let it drain out where there should be drains built in the system so it will drain on its own. So in my case, there's just a cap here. I took it off with this wrench, and then you put this key, has an end on it like that, and then it goes all the way down. And then it just twists one way or the other to turn off. Okay, and once you turn that water off, you can check and make sure it's off by trying to turn on the sprinklers, and if they don't work, then you'll know that the water's off. And that's the first and easiest thing to do to winterize your sprinkler system so that nothing freezes over the winter. One year, I turned this water off, but I didn't blow out the water, and there was a little bit of water left in the valves, and it froze and broke my valves in the valve box. Other sprinkler systems have valves you can turn off in a valve box closer to the house. This one's out by the street, by the water meter near my house, and there's a little valve right there that turns off the water to the sprinkler system, but still leaves water on to my house. So there's still water going to my house, but it's just turned off to the sprinkler system through this valve that's right under this cap. So first thing you do is turn off that water. If you don't have any way of hooking an air compressor to your sprinkler system after turning off that valve, then you're pretty much done, and that's all you have to do to winterize your sprinkler system. You are still at risk, however, that perhaps they didn't design the sprinkler system good enough and it could still freeze possibly. If your sprinkler system has never frozen, you've been doing this for years and you just turned it off with that valve, that could be the only thing you have to do. Unless you get a particularly cold spell in the winter that freezes low enough in the ground to freeze parts that haven't been frozen before. Okay, this is how to winterize a sprinkler system. You notice I got my air compressor plugged in up there and just an air hose right to here. And this air hose is hooked up to an adapter that I've screwed onto this water spout that I use for watering my garden in the summer. And right now the main water shutoff is turned off, so even if I were to turn this on and unplug this, there'd be no water coming out because the water's turned off. But what I do is I use this air hose and this adapter to pressurize with air pressure instead of water pressure the sprinkler system, and then I turn on each individual station to flush out any excess water that are in the lines to make sure there's nothing left in the pipes to freeze over the winter. Now, if you don't have a spout like this that directly connects to the main line of your sprinklers, then you might not be able to use an air compressor to blow out your sprinkler system. If you have a place where you can hook on an air hose in one of your valve boxes, then that might be a way to do it, but it's a good idea to use an air compressor to blow out any remaining water in your sprinkler lines before the really cold weather comes. And it's early November, and we live in a cold climate where it's going to get down to about 20 degrees tonight. Right now it's still warm enough. It's about 45 degrees right now, so it's warm enough that we can blow these out and get any excess water out of the sprinkler system before it freezes tonight. This just the standard air compressor fitting with a hose bib adapter and a little washer there. One thing I recommend you do is if you're ever building a new sprinkler system and you live in a cold climate, is you put one of these spouts in, one of these spouts that you can hook up a hose to somewhere in your yard, and hook up an air adapter to blow out the sprinkler system. Okay, after the air compressor is hooked up to the hose bib and hooked up to the main line of the sprinkler system, we have to go to the control panel, or if you have a way to electronically do it using a smartphone or a smart sprinkler timer, you can just turn it on remotely. But you just need to turn on one station at a time. So you'll turn on one station and let it blow out, and then the air compressor will have a hard time keeping up, depending on how big your air compressor is, but your air compressor will blow out that station until it doesn't have enough force to continue blowing. So we've done all the first 6 stations. Now we'll do station number 7, and let's turn that on, see what it does. So you can see it's sputtering out what's left of the water in the sprinkler system, and we're getting any excess water out of the line. And notice it runs for only just a few seconds will it run, and then the air compressor is having a hard time keeping up with the air it has to push through the lines. We only leave that one zone on for just a few minutes, like maybe 1 or 2 minutes at the most, until it stops blowing water out. Then we turn it to the off position and let the air compressor catch up before we turn on the next station. So it takes a few minutes in between. You find something else to do while you're waiting for the air compressor to recharge. We're waiting for the air compressor to recharge after we turned on that station. It takes a few minutes for it to recharge because now it has to pressurize this hose and has to pressurize the main line up to the valves again, and it takes several minutes for that to happen depending on how big and strong your compressor is. Wait for a few minutes, wait till the compressor stops before you turn on the next station. Now air is just feeding into the main line through this hose bib right here, letting it recharge and repressurize the system before we turn on the next station to blow out any excess water. Alright, now that the air compressor is recharged, we can go ahead and push the next station to start. Alright, we got to turn it to the last station, number 8. And we'll hit water 1 station now and see what it does. Blowing out the excess water there. You hear the air compressor kicked back on. See a little bit of water still bubbling there. So it's about done now. We can go ahead and go turn it off here. Now that we've done all the stations, let's go ahead and do each station one more time to make sure there's no water left. And so I waited for the air compressor to recharge and repressurize the line, so now I'm going to go through each station one more time. So let's see what this one does, if there's any water. Yeah, it's looking better. Still a little bit, but not much. Let the air compressor recharge, and I'll go through each station one more time and just make sure each time it gets pressurized all the way, and then blow it out and turn it off again. Just turn it on for just a few seconds to let it blow out any remaining water, but each time you got to wait for the air compressor to catch up and repressurize the line before you push the next station to make sure it has enough power to blow out all the water. The compressor's recharged. Let's try the next station and get what's left of the water out of it. A little bit of water, so it's good we did it a second time. That's why, especially these sprinklers that are down the hill from the rest of the line, are still spitting out water. So I think it's good to at least do it twice. Get out all the water so it doesn't freeze on the line in the lines on you. And make sure you turn off each station between each time so that the air compressor can repressurize the line again so you get enough force to push out any excess water. There's a little bit of water coming out there, that's good. I didn't quite get there in time, but stop blowing out some water still. So this is the second time we've done it. It's still pushing water out, which is good. And the dog loves this. I'm sure he loves it, huh? Don't you love this, huh, Samson? It's scary. It's scary. I'm sorry. Good boy. Okay, last one. Let's try that again. It's still a little bit of water, but it's very minimal now, so I think we're in good shape, ready to turn off the compressor. Poor compressor's been going all afternoon trying to push out all the air. Let's go ahead and disconnect the air hose from here, and we're going to get a lot of air coming out the main line here. Air coming out of that. We have the main line pressurized, and it's dry air, which is a good sign. So anyway, this adapter has been nice. It just adapts to the hose bib, to the air compressor fittings. It's just the standard air compressor fitting with the hose bib adapter and a little washer there. Just to be aware, one year in the spring when we turn the water back on, this valve wouldn't work because sometimes the air pressure will push up on a little rubber piece in this valve. So we had to take this screw off the top and fix the rubber part that had just kind of been pushed up. So just be aware, all the air pressure can have issues with these screw-on rubber valves if you put all that strong air pressure on it. So anyway, yeah, this little valve adapter has been great. It's a great way to flush out any extra water in your sprinkler lines before the winter comes. I think I bought this either on eBay or Amazon. and I just screwed it on there with some good Teflon tape, and it's been great. So you can hook it up to the air compressor. This air compressor on this cart, and I'll take it back to my garage now that we're done, but it's nice if you can bring your air compressor to where the hose bib is located. Think of that when you're putting in the hose bib. Is it a location where you can bring an air compressor and air hose to it to take out the excess water? So think about that too when you're locating where you're going to hook up to the air compressor.